Hello, viewers. I'm glad you're here. Makgeolli is delicious Korean rice wine, and today you'll see me make cranberry makgeolli in 4 different ways. Lots of things to try. Let's find out the best way to brew with cranberries. So I thought it would be good to use a local ingredient in my makgeolli, since cranberries are an indigenous food of North America and have been harvested for thousands of years. And I thought the tart and astringent flavor of cranberries could be compatible with the natural flavor of makgeolli, since traditional makgeolli has those flavors already. I thought this could be a good combination. I didn't remember seeing any recipes for cranberry makgeolli, and I couldn't find any examples of commercial makgeolli using cranberries, even though there are many other kinds of berry and fruit-flavored makgeolli. But I know I'm not the first to think of cranberry makgeolli, since Korean food scientists have already researched this. Here's an article I found. Just from reading the abstract, I have confidence that this is a good idea. It also gives a recommended proportion of 10% cranberries by rice weight. So at least I have some guidance from this. I'm not just totally making things up like I usually do. So let's get started. Day 0. Here's my cranberries. I have these cranberries left over from the holidays. They were in the freezer. And how much do I have? I have around 300 grams, so that's going to be perfect for 3 brews of 1 kilogram of rice each. So these are frozen solid right now. I'm going to have to thaw them before I use them. Just listen to how hard these are. Yeah, there's just a piece of ice. So here are the 3 brews I'm going to do right now with these cranberries. Jar A, B, and C. Each with a kilogram of rice, 100 grams of cranberries, 0.9 liters of water, 100 grams of nuruk, and some wine yeast. And the difference between the jars is that for jar A, I'm just adding the cranberries as they are. For jar B, I'm adding the cranberries plus a gram of pectinase. And for jar C, I'm adding the cranberries not at the beginning, but halfway through fermentation. So these are the 3 brews that I'm experimenting with. So here's the sweet rice I'm using. I measure 3 kilograms of sweet rice. Wash that gently as usual. Should take about 10 minutes to wash. And you want the water to rinse clear at the end. If you're too rough, it'll pretty much never get clear. So if you like this kind of video, please click that like button and subscribe. And please share this video wherever it is appropriate. I appreciate your help in spreading the word about rustic Asian rice wine. So soak that for at least 3 hours. After the rice is done soaking, drain it in the colander. Rinse off any residue. And by now these cranberries are thawed, so I can squeeze them and break them. I'm going to rinse this with distilled water or boiled cooled water. Just a little paranoid about any natural yeast residue on the cranberries. So I'm going to put these in bags, and each bag is 100 grams. And I'm going to crush the cranberries roughly. I didn't put them in a blender because I thought the cranberry skins might they might be too bitter. They might be too bitter if they were really blended. And like I mentioned, for A, I'm just going to use the crushed cranberries, but for B, I'm going to add some pectic enzyme to pectinase. So For B, a quarter teaspoon of pectic enzyme. And I'm going to mix that up by hand just to have it start acting on the cranberries while we're doing the other steps here. So put the drained rice into the steamer, and I'm steaming for 35 minutes. And while we're steaming the rice, I can get my nuruk ready. So this is the nuruk I'm using. It's going to have a good flavor. So each jar, I'm using 100 grams of nuruk, and I'm soaking the nuruk in 200 milliliters of water. And also I'm adding half a teaspoon of wine yeast to each of them. And I'm adding plenty of yeast just because in case the cranberries are a little hard to get fermenting, I'm adding plenty of yeast, so it'll really get going at the beginning. That's what I want to happen anyhow. Okay, so it's been steaming for 35 minutes, and I'm going to turn the rice over. That's to ensure even steaming. And turn it down to low and just let it rest there for another 10 minutes. And then spread it out on these racks to cool. And I'll divide the rice evenly between the jars with scale. Now that the rice is divided, I add the soaked nuruk and 700 milliliters of water. So that's 700 milliliters plus the 200 milliliters from soaking the nuruk, and then considering the cranberries to be water, that's another 100 milliliters. They're mostly water, anyhow. So that gets me an overall 1-to-1 rice to water ratio, which is what we want. Okay, carefully get those cranberries in there. They're a great color. They're a great color. I wonder how this is going to work in the brew. So same thing for jar B. Add the nuruk mixture and the water, and then these cranberries that have been prepared with the pectic enzyme. Cranberries are supposed to have quite a bit of pectin, I think, and I was seeing what effect this has on the fermentation. So for jar C, I'm not adding any cranberries yet. We'll add the cranberries later. But I still need to mix each jar by hand for 5 minutes. And yeah, I'll make sure that each cranberry is crushed to allow for some fermentation. So yeah, the unbroken cranberries, it would be difficult to ferment. So have to make sure that cranberries are broken up. So the cranberries treated with the pectic enzyme, they do seem to be broken down a bit, and the color leaks out of them a bit more. So B is pinker than A right now. And it is important to mix by hand so you can ensure that every grain of rice gets in contact with the nuruk. Okay, now keep the lids loose and just put them in a dark place, relatively cool to ferment. Okay, here they are the next day. You can see the cranberries in jars A and B. The rice has soaked up all the water, of course. And if I listen to them, I do hear some bubbling. So fermentation has started. That's great. And they seem about the same. So that's good. The cranberries haven't inhibited the fermentation at all. So that's good. I do want to mix this twice a day for the first 2 days. Right now, it's still pretty solid, so just gently get some air into the bottom and mix it around a bit. Yeah, it's not liquefied yet. Okay, now on day two, there is liquid on the bottom and lots of bubbles of gas in the top layer, so that's great. Um, let's see what it's like on the top. So the cranberries sort of floated to the top there. I'm going to mix this again two more times today, morning and evening. So the top looks fine so far. It's not so it has liquefied a bit. This should be easier to stir today. Yeah, it is more liquid, easier to stir. Yeah, so stir each jar again. And on day three, you can see that liquid layer on the bottom is larger and gas bubbles are larger. And the cranberries really have floated to the top now. Day four. Actually, the fruit on top could become moldy, so I am worried about that. So normally I wouldn't stir anymore, but I am going to push down all the cranberries on top to submerge them because I don't want any exposed fruit to start getting regular mold on it. That would be bad. That would spoil the batch. So push down all the cranberries that are on top right now. Okay, and day five, yeah, the liquid layer is a bit larger, and it's bubbling away. And this is about halfway through fermentation on day six here. So I'm going to add the remaining cranberries to jar C. Again, I'm going to crush them. Now I'm going to add them to jar C. They really are a great color. So this time I am going to mix just with the wooden spoon here. Okay, the next day, day seven, things are fermenting and the rice grains are breaking up and falling to the bottom as well. So the layer at the bottom that used to be liquid is now full of broken down rice grains. But these are still layers. There's still a cap layer on top and a layer of liquid and broken down rice in the lower layer. The cranberries themselves have remained submerged, so that's great. Now it's day 11, bottling day. Boil my filter bag. Take a final look at the jars. See, there's no cranberries on top. Yeah, so they fermented well, and when I listen, they're not bubbling very much at all. So pour them through the filter bag and do a lot of squeezing. So it did seem like this was a bit of extra work to get through the filter bag. I think that's has something to do with the pectin in cranberries. It does take some extra work. So I'm going to show you all the squeezing I had to do to get the liquid out here. So this is jar A. Jigame was 346 grams, and that's going to end up with about 2 liters of undiluted makgeolli from this. So that's great. And I'm not going to. The jigame still has lots of alcohol and flavor in it. I'm going to add water and refilter it. So I'll have some extra bonus makgeolli that way. So I'll add 200 milliliters of water back to the jigame and squeeze it again. And that'll give me my bonus bowl. So the second filter, the jigame has been reduced to 305 grams. So So here's my bonus bowl. Then boil my filter bag again. Pour out jar B. Same thing, quite a bit of work to get it out. I don't think the pectinase did change things that much. This is about the same amount of difficulty and the same amount of jjigae, this time 338 grams. Get another 2 liters of undiluted cranberry makgeolli. And here's my bonus bowl for jar B. Add the extra water and squeeze it again. So the jjigae was reduced to 291 grams. So that's good. Here's my bonus bowl. Time for the third jar. Pour jar C through the filter bag. And squeeze that. So one thing to notice here, these are not very red, even though the cranberries have so much color in them, not much of the color got into the makgeolli. So the jar C jjigae was 348 grams, another 2 liters of undiluted makgeolli. So it was a bit surprising to me that the color didn't come through that well. And here's my bonus bowl for the for jar C. And the jjigae after the bonus bowl was 288 grams. Okay, so here's a summary of the jjigae. Pretty even. These are pretty much the same. Of these 3 recipes, jar C is the pinkest. The cranberries have such an intense color. It's strange that these brews are so pale. Also, when I taste the bonus bowls, the cranberry flavor is very faint. Maybe these are a bit more tart than normal, and there's a little of the fruitiness of the cranberry, but the flavor is barely recognizable as cranberry. So I think that is a problem. At least I know that the cranberries do not inhibit fermentation. These are good brews as makgeolli. It's just I don't have the essence of cranberry flavor. The flavor is just too subtle compared with what I was expecting. This is from jar C. At least it's more pink. But I'm not done. There's at least one more thing I can do. At the beginning of this video, I promised 4 recipes for cranberry makgeolli. You've seen the first 3, so here's the 4th. So I'm going to take one of these brews. This is from jar A. The brew has settled well. The cranberry flavor is just not strong enough. So what can I do? Let's add some of this cranberry sauce from the holidays that I also had in the freezer. It's just cranberries plus sugar heated to boiling, and that's the cranberry sauce. So I'm going to take 1 measure of cranberry sauce, and here this is half a cup, but 1 measure of cranberry sauce, 2 measures of makgeolli, and 1 measure of sparkling water. I'll put that in the blender and really blend it. This time I want to liquefy that cranberry sauce so I can use it in this cocktail. So this is the result. This is a better color. This is much more pink, and there are bits of cranberry in here. Yeah, now you can really taste the cranberries. Okay, so that's an improvement. This is a kind of makgeolli cranberry cocktail. And this has interesting textures because it has the foamy part plus the cranberry bits, and it's sweeter due to the added sugar in the cranberry sauce. This is a nice cocktail, actually. This has an interesting look and texture to it and flavor. So this is, if you want to get the taste of cranberries, this might be a much easier way to do it. So just add the cranberries at the end in a cocktail. You'll get the cranberry flavor that way. I think to actually ferment cranberries is going to take more time. That would take a longer brew time. So I hope you found this interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, let me know what you're brewing and what you're drinking. Thank you for watching.